So I keep speaking to people lately who tell me that they do not journal their tarot, Lenormand, geomancy readings. They don't write down their readings when they are reading for themselves. And I've been journaling my readings so obsessively and for so long, I kind of assume that everyone does this. And when I started asking around how often people do this, that they in fact write down their reading, I've discovered it's not that often. It doesn't seem to be a common practice. So in this video, I wanted to inspire you about the power of journaling your reading. It's an extremely potent thing, and the reason for this has to do with language. Now, if you have received a good reading from someone who's been in the power, who's been sort of inflamed with the spirit, and it's kind of been flowing out them, and it's just like it's just truth bomb after truth bomb, there is a certain magic in the language that's coming out of them. And certainly if you are a reader yourself, you will have experienced this thing where you've got the cards on the table and you have a sense of what's going on there, but it's when you start putting it into words, when you start expressing it in language, that the real meaning is revealed to you as you say it. It's the magic of Hermes. Of course, Hermes is the god of language, but Hermes is also the god of divination. So there is something that happens when a reading is expressed in words, where it's translated into a language for the recipient, where often new meaning is infused that sort of comes from the inspiration of that moment, but it also has to do with the power of language to kind of pattern and structure things and give things form. Now, if you're reading for yourself and you're not doing this, the odds are the reading will stay this weird amorphous symbolic blob on the table. Even if you think you understand that reading, it's not going to really integrate with your consciousness in the same way if it had been expressed in language, right? So this is one of the reasons I find writing out, journaling the reading in full as if you were giving it to yourself, right? Even if it's in succinct bullet points or sentences that sort of encapsulate these key positions, but writing this out is extremely important for several reasons. Firstly, there is the process of taking it out of this amorphous mass in your mind and bringing it through your body and embodying it in a sense, and then having it appear as an objective thing in front of you which you can read back to you. It mirrors back a truth to you. That mirroring process helps integrate the reading, and it will often reveal more stuff. In writing it out, you will discover more about what's going on in that reading than if you were just to stare at it there on the table, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing, of course, is more obvious. It's the documentation of that reading. You're going to be able to have this documented, and you can look back over at it in a few months or a few years, and you can check the accuracy of your reading and discover you know, how that, and in hindsight, as having the knowledge of how things happened. And it's always good to leave a space in the margin there where you can give outcomes, and that is very handy just for your own development as a reader, obviously. But there's another aspect that for me came really into focus a couple of years ago, and this is when I made a major breakthrough in my own personal system of tarot numerology, and this really was as a result of having these years and years of journals of documented readings. And I had an idea about a new way of approaching the numerology of the tarot, and then I was able to kind of go back and apply that to old readings with the hindsight of the outcomes of those readings, and having that database of information basically I made an amazing breakthrough that I wouldn't have been able to make any other way had I not documented all of that, right? So there's a lot, as a developing reader, there's a lot that you can gain from studying your old journals. You will often see new patterns emerge, new take on certain card meanings. It's a gold mine. You can really mine those readings endlessly, and they will be, you know, there's, in terms of sharpening your skill as a reader, it's an extraordinary resource. And then of course, if you are reading for yourself, and we tend to read about things that we care about, things that's going on in our life, our relationships, our jobs, our finances, all these things are important issues that tend to be things we read on, right? So journals of these natures work really well as diaries. Really, they are brilliant as historical documents about your life, right? A lot more compelling way of engaging with a diary than just, you know, writing out a diary, which I don't think anyone has been able to do successfully since the 1920s, right? There's something wonderfully meditative, something wonderfully nourishing with sitting with your journal, with that pen, and spending the time by yourself. It's an act of self-care, and I personally find it tremendously therapeutic. I found a lot of profound therapeutic value in this journaling, even that extends beyond the power of the reading itself. Whatever psychological shifts or insights or flashes of inspiration that may have come with the reading, just this act of diarizing, of journaling, of spending time with myself, reflecting on my thoughts, seeing my thoughts there in black and white, crystallized as words. There is a structuring power, an organizing capacity in the mind that allows us to kind of process our feelings and our experiences in a very healthy way. It's like the water of life, really. So for God's sake, journal your readings.